Hello, everyone. Coach Carole with you once more for the Personal Genealogy Network Challenge. And tonight I'm delighted to have Kelly Cornwall with us in the studio in StreamYard, although she's on the opposite side of the world to me. Welcome, Kelly. Tell us where you're from.
Hi, Carole. So I currently live in Suffolk, on the east side of England, East Anglia. But I originally come from the border of Essex and London, and most of my ancestors are from London. My parents were born there, and I've lived in Suffolk for about 15 years.
Well, that's a lovely part of the country. And we have something in common that I too was a Londoner, I suppose, loosely, when I was very small. We were in the suburbs there in Croydon.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And how did you get started with your interest in genealogy?
Um, well, it's hard to say really. The love of genealogy, I think, came from when I was a child. And I have quite a large family, and we would meet regularly. And I would listen to my grandparents speaking about the old days, and their siblings would come, my great aunts and uncles. And I would just sit and listen to them talking about their childhood, my great grandparents, my great great grandparents, and I just was fascinated. And it was probably around about the time I was planning my wedding that I thought, in my early 20s, and I thought I really should document some of this. And so that's when I started writing and keeping a log of all of these stories that I'd heard. And then I started investigating them to see if there was any truth behind some of the stories. Yeah. So, yeah, late 90s, early 2000s.
Right. Oh, that's precious. And
Mm,
you're very lucky to have been able to actually speak with those
mm,
ancestors. Sadly, in my case, I'm the youngest of many, and they were all passed on by the
mm.
time any of my interests were sparked.
Oh,
I'm delighted to hear that the storytelling is the pitch that grabs you every time. It is for me too. And I love sharing my stories on my blog and so on. And I've read some of yours, and I like that connection between us. But
mm.
tonight we were going to look at something else that we have in common, and that is having done a few different courses in genealogy.
Yeah.
So tell us about those that you've done. You've been with Pharos Tutors, yes?
Yes, I've been with Pharos Tutors for probably about 4 years now. I started a business as a professional genealogist back in 2016. Um, Really, that kind of grew out of helping friends research their family history. And a friend of mine said, "You should do this. You should make a business out of it." So I did, and I soon discovered that my knowledge of broader record collections was quite limited. I'd only really come across the records that were, the regular, easily accessible things that you find from Ancestry and Find My Past searches. So I thought, I really, if I'm going to do this seriously, I need to, I need to study. I need to find out more about studying family history. So I looked around, and Pharos was an organization that just seemed to really fit well with me. It just, everything that I wanted, Pharos just seemed to tick all of the boxes. I have two boys, two children, and I needed something to fit around them.
Yeah.
And Pharos just seemed really flexible. So
Yes.
I had a look and I saw that they did an intermediate course of 10 modules, 10 different record kind of subjects. And so I signed up for it.
Oh, well done. And what year was that?
I think that was 2018, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was.
And what was it like studying online with Pharos?
So I won't lie, the first week of my first module was tough.
Yeah.
And I think it was just because really I hadn't studied, I hadn't been in that education setting for 20 odd years. And so I thought, is my brain capable of this? You know, am I able to get into that mindset? But I found that the tutor that I had was just a real mentor. She was really supportive, really encouraging. It didn't matter what questions I asked, nothing was silly. You know, there were no silly questions. It didn't matter how inexperienced you were, whatever you asked, you were kind of encouraged. And the fellow students were amazing too. We all helped each other. And the great thing I love about Pharos is that they encourage that community among the students. So we have a forum where we chat about that week's lesson, and then we have an actual chat with the tutor, which is a live text chat, and we discuss that week's lesson with the tutor.
Yeah, I remember those. I have done a couple of courses with Pharos, and I do remember the structure now that you are talking about it. And so tell us what you got out of that first one. Once you'd overcome that first week and got through your jitters about being an online student, what did you get from it?
So my first course was wills and administrations, and I'd had a look at a couple of wills in my own research, but I hadn't looked at anything as far back as some of the wills that we were studying in the course. And the lesson really taught us about legislation and understanding that the cause of records being created allows you to kind of understand the format of them, and then consequently what you can actually get out of them that would be genealogically useful. So we really kind of looked at the background of the records and where they were stored, how they were kept, who would create them, the jurisdictions of probate. So I didn't realise before taking the course that if you lived in a parish in the middle of Hertfordshire, say, the probate court that would grant probate for a will could be a couple of 100 miles away. You know, there are certain peculiars, they're known as, and it could be that through history that piece of land was actually owned by a lord who lived in a parish on the other side of the country, and therefore when you were granting probate, it would actually go through his court in his parish, his an archdeacon somewhere. So that was fascinating, because when you're starting off in family history, when you can't find a record for your ancestor, there are a million reasons why it's not where you think it should be.
Yes.
So that's what I got from my first module.
That's brilliant, because wills are such a wonderful resource to find. I remember finding one for my great-great-grandfather and being just blown away by the detail. So I might consider that one, the wills and
administration.
Thank you. So that's one course. You've done many, I think. How many did you say?
Yes, I think I've done 15. I've lost count. I think I've done 15. I've completed the intermediate course, which is 10 modules.
Yeah.
I've completed the professional genealogist course, which I believe you've done too, Carole.
That's right. Yes, that's something else we have in common.
Yeah. And I'm now kind of a quarter of the way through the Pharos Advanced course, which is kind of the equivalent to a diploma. Very similar content. And I've completed 3 of the modules there, I think. Yeah.
You need to fit the study around the rest of your life and your family. So, yes, it gets a bit tough. But you mentioned the advanced being like a diploma. And as I said to you before, I did the Diploma of Family History through the University of Tasmania. And it was the only one of its kind back then, when I think I started in 2017, where you could pick up a module and do it part-time online, and I could waive the fee. It had government support so I didn't have to pay for it. And if you studied this without your government support, it would cost in the region of thousands. So I found it an extremely popular course to do, and I still communicate with those who did the Diploma of Family History. We have our own group, which is like an alumni of the UTAS people. So we're still going. But I'm now looking for the next level up for me, and I'm thinking, because I can't go any further at the University of Tasmania, I might pop back over to Pharos and have a look at the advanced course that you're doing.
Yeah, it's great. If you're I know that you have ancestors in England, so you'll be quite interested in the English record collections, which they tend to focus on.
Yes.
Most of the courses that they do are based on English and Welsh records.
Well, I need both of those.
Perfect. They do actually have some other courses that are based on Scottish records, and I believe definitely one of them is run by Chris Payton, who is fantastic. I haven't taken one of his courses yet, but he is a brilliant tutor, so I've been told, and very, very knowledgeable. So I definitely recommend that if anybody's researching Scottish heritage. And I think, I can't actually remember off the top of my head, I'm sure they must do an Irish records. I haven't done it yet, but I'm sure they must do somewhere. They do actually. I can't think of the name of, I think it's run by a lady, but I can't think of her name.
Right. Oh, well, we'll need to go and research that for ourselves.
Yeah.
So, Kelly, you have a website, a blog?
Yes, I do.
That is, and I'll pop it in as a banner.
Okay, lovely. It's a bit of a long one, I'm afraid. So
fire away.
It's www. And who am I? Family Tree Research.
That's right. I remember it now, and it's
uk.co.uk. Yeah.
.co. Have to remember that. I'm so used to putting .au on the end of my URLs. Okay, finding the right letters there. Lovely. So this is Kelly, and I'll just scroll that across the bottom of the screen now.
Okay.
And show that one. Have I got the right one?
That looks. Oh no, it's .co.uk.
What I put you? Oh, look, I'm so. Isn't that amazing?
It's because we were talking AU, weren't we?
Yes, it was just my fingers doing their own thing. All right, I'll fix that up. So whilst you are going on to the next bit of topic, what would you advise someone who's watching this tonight? Where would they start with anything over at Pharos?
So I think the beauty with Pharos is that you can pick any of the courses to do. They have some courses that are available at any time, but they also have courses that are set dates, set weeks, and tutor-led. So it depends kind of what you're looking for. If you just want to dip your toe in the water, you could just do one of their anytime courses. If you wanted to do a tutor-led, then they're specifically dated, and they usually run over a course of 3, 4, 5 weeks.
Perfect.
They do cater for people. In the courses that I've attended, we've had people from all over the world. We've had people from Australia, Canada, America, and the tutors always try and accommodate the different time zones. So if you're doing a tutor-led course, they usually ask you in the first chat, in the forum, they ask you if there are any days or times that aren't suitable for you, and to mention if you're in a different time zone, and then the tutor tries to cater for everybody. They generally have 2 chats a week, one in the morning UK time, which would be I think it's usually around about 10 o'clock in the morning, so that would be about 9 o'clock in the evening where you are.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, and then they have a UK evening session, which tends to suit people in Canada and America.
Yeah. Well, that's great. That's very flexible. I had a look at their website, and I liked the fact that they give you a section called What's Right for Me.
Yes.
And it sort of asks some questions that might be in the heads of those people that want to do a course, and they lead you to the ones that they think you should start with. So there's a beginner's course, and then you move on. There's things like Victorian families in the census, and then all about parish registers. That's one I definitely want to know.
Yeah.
And then the National Archives website and catalogue is where you can go to get an in-depth look. And this one is interesting, Introduction to One Name Studies.
Yes.
So there's a whole host of them out there in Pharos, so that's great.
Yeah, and if you have a particular interest, so for example, I love I'm obsessed with one of my ancestors who funnily enough was transported to Tasmania.
Wow, you have royalty in your family.
I do. And nobody knew about it in my family. She would have been my 5 times great aunt. So she was actually my let me get this right, my nan who's still alive. It would have been her great-great-grandfather's sister.
Right.
And we didn't know anything about this story, and I just happened to come across it and investigated it. But I had also had this interest in crime and punishment and policing. So the Pharos course, Victorian Crime and Punishment, was definitely one that stood out for me. And that, as it happened, so that course you can actually take as a standalone course, or you can use it as a module of the intermediate course, which is made up of 10 mini courses, but then built up over the time that you want to take it in. I think there's a maximum time period. I think you have to have completed the 10 modules in 3 years to then be able to have the certificate for that group.
Yeah, gotcha.
So it's very flexible.
Yeah.
And so I took Victorian Crime and Punishment, which was run by the brilliant Anthony Marr, who is an ex-policeman.
Wow.
He has left Pharos now because he's gone to be chair of AGRA.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you know
Big
about
step up. Yeah, I do. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, so many of our tutors actually are involved with AGRA. AGRA and Pharos work very closely together. I don't want to say they're partners because maybe that's not quite the right terminology, but Pharos...
I think how do you express it? That AGRA recognises or acknowledges the Pharos certification. Yeah.
Yes, they do. And Pharos are also associated with the Society of Genealogists.
Yes.
So the intermediate certificate that I got is from the Society of Genealogists and Pharos. So the bodies kind of all work closely together, which is great.
Absolutely.
But if you wanted to take the Victorian Crime and Punishment course now, it's being tutored by Dave Annell.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, who people might recognise from social media as Lifelines Research.
That's the one, yeah.
Yeah, and Dave's brilliant. Dave actually taught one of my recent modules, researching online for genealogists. So I'm sure that he will be brilliant doing a Victorian Crime and Punishment.
Oh, yes. Oh, I'll have to put that on my list now, Kelly.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, that's just taken me to the end of the year with my course. So how much is that going to set me back? If I take one course now, what's the cost of that?
Well, they vary depending on whether you want them to be assessed or non-assessed.
Okay.
So let me have a look here. So
I think I saw something like 37 for one and then 99 somewhere for another.
Yeah,
so that bracket.
Yeah, it really does vary depending on whether they're assessed, unassessed, how many weeks they are. So, for example, Barbara Baker runs a course that's only 3 weeks, and it's called Organising Your Genealogy. I haven't done this course yet, but I know people who have, and they said it's fantastic. That course is starting on the 4th of April, and it's £41.
Oh, of course, yes, it's in
British
pounds,
yeah. And that's 3 weeks long. But that's not an assessed course.
No, but as you say, it's up to whether the person who does the course wants that final certification.
Yeah, exactly. And then if you have a look at that same week you have on the 7th of April, this is actually a module that I took as part of my intermediate course. It's called Non-Conformity, and it's run by a tutor called Alec Tritton. And it talks about all of the records and the history and the background of non-conformists, so Methodists, Baptists, Congregationalists, all of the different Quakers, all of the different non-Church of England denominations. And his course, if you do it unassessed, it's 52 British pounds. If you did the assessed course, it's 70, and that's over a length of 4 weeks.
Okay, well, that's really good.
Yeah, it really varies.
Yeah, but I like the way that they offer that so that it suits the budget, plus it suits your end goal. So most of them will feature British records, I assume. Do we know of courses that would suit those who are doing their studies of their ancestors in America? What's the best place for them? Have you got any ideas there?
I don't think Pharos do one.
I saw something only today from one of the people in the challenge. I'm just trying to remember who it was. It'll come to me in a minute. But she was recommending these particular courses, and I had a look at those today. I'm just trying to find it in my my PGN. I was sure I put it there. Now I can't find it with all these pieces of. Here we go. Let me see. No, I haven't actually listed it, but I did find a couple of other courses that people might find of interest that were useful as introductory courses. There's one that's being done by MyHeritage. So that's an introduction to genealogy. I'll put the link in after this. And then, of course, you might consider the Diploma of Family History at UTAS and the Pharos Tutors. There's also the Strathclyde University Genealogy.
Yeah.
Which I found was out of my pocket.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
But they use the Future Learn platform, which is brilliant to work in.
Another institute is IHGS. Have you come across those? The Institute of Heraldic and Genealogical Studies.
Yes, I've heard of those. I think our friend Emma Cox has been involved with those.
Yeah, they're really good too. I have done a few of their standalone modules. I haven't done their course. When I was kind of thinking about studying, I was looking at Strathclyde, Pharos, IHGS, and in those days there was also the University of Dundee offered a genealogical kind of course, online distance learning. That's what I'm thinking of. And out of the four of them, Pharos just seemed to suit me better at the time.
Yeah.
Suited my pocket better.
Yes.
I recognised some of the tutors from being on Twitter, and I had interacted with some of them on Twitter, so I kind of felt that they were a little bit familiar to me. So yes. I thought, I quite like that because I feel as if I know them.
Yeah, I think that is a really important point for doing courses like this is the social learning that happens, not necessarily all within the course, but outside. When you follow someone on Twitter and you see what else they do and connect with who they connect with. That's how we build our own network. Absolutely. I'm still trying to build mine in Twitter. I don't know how you're going there, but I'm gradually building up my network.
Yeah, I'm getting there. I've met some fantastic people who I call friends now. You know, we've met in the real world. We've come together in reality and had lunch or dinner and cups of tea. Yeah, and it's really good. And everybody's always been so supportive. I think, you know, if I ever have a question about my family history research, I pop it onto Twitter, and there's generally somebody that will come back to me with an answer, or they'll come back to me and say, "Oh, you need to speak to this person."
Absolutely, and one of our shared friends networked is Natalie Pithers. So I thought I'd put a little plug in here for the hashtag History for Ukraine that Natalie is running, and that's on the 26th of March, and it'll roll into the 27th, of course. So have a look for that. It's not a course, but it is certainly a cause too good to miss. She's doing or attempting to do 24 hours of round-the-clock history lives. So that should be of interest.
Yeah.
Kelly, almost a half an hour we've been chatting here. It's
Wow.
just been brilliant listening to you and talking with you.
You
Is there
too.
anything else that you'd like to say before we close up for the night?
No, I think we've covered it really. It's been lovely speaking with you, and thank you for having me, Carole.
You're very welcome.
It's really good to put a face to the kind of text
Yes.
that we've been having on Twitter. So it's really nice to kind of meet you, although virtually.
Yes, indeed. But at least we know that we are real.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for being with us tonight. It's been delightful to talk about the different courses that we can check into if we want to look at Pharos tutors or the various university courses. Do consider some of those if that's what you want. For tomorrow, I was hoping to interview Paul Chiddicks, but he's not available.
Oh, that's a shame. He's a great
So,
guy.
yes, I interviewed him once before in a podcast. He's lovely. However, the planned StreamYard with Paul was at 8 p.m. tomorrow. So instead of that, I'm now going to do a midday live stream. That won't suit you, I don't think, for the timing, but it
No.
might suit some of the challengers who are beaming in from America. So that's at 12 noon tomorrow. And that will be, gosh, what are we up to? I'm up to, is it day 6?
I
No,
think
that's the
we're
wrong
day
one.
7, aren't we?
Well, I've just picked up the wrong one there. So it's day 7 that I should be showing there. And then tomorrow will be day 8. And then there's just 3 more to go.
Wow.
And we're having such a lot of fun in gathering all of these and building our PGN. So I'm really delighted that you've A, joined me in the live cast, and B, you've joined the Facebook community. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Bye now.
Take care. Bye-bye.